Is this the end for Arne Slot? A so-called unbeaten run of 13 games finally comes to an end away at Bournemouth, but when you really look at it, 6 of those 13 games were draws, so the question has to be asked, were we actually that good? The truth is, apart from a few standout performances, most of our games look very similar to what we saw yesterday at the Vitality. The same problems kept showing up again and again, and nothing really changed. Still, if we focus only on this one match, is it fair to put all of the blame on the manager for how it played out? Now that the emotions have settled down and our heads are a bit cooler, it is time to break it all down and see if that actually is the case. So make sure you do hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let us jump straight into it. We have to start by talking about just how poor our squad depth really is. As soon as you take a few players out of the starting lineup, the drop in quality becomes obvious, and that was clear from the team Slot had put out. Alisson stayed in goal, which was never an issue, and Frimpong, Kerkez, Gomez and Van Dijk all started at the back. On paper, that looks fine, but then Gomez gets injured and everything starts to fall apart. First of all, condolences to Konate and his family after the loss of his father, but without him, and now without Gomez as well, we were left with no natural centre-back to bring in. It got so bad that when Frimpong went off, we ended up seeing Endo playing almost like a right-back, which says everything about the situation. In midfield, Slot went with Szoboszlai, McAllister and Gravenberch, a trio that has already played a huge amount of minutes this season. You could see the tired legs and the lack of sharpness at times, especially as the game went on. Up front, Salah, Wirtz and Gakpo led the line, but with Slot clearly trying to manage Ekitike's minutes, our quality in the final third was just not there. Compared to what we saw in the Marseille game, the difference was massive, and it showed in the way we struggled to create real chances. Sure, a lot of this comes down to bad luck with the injuries we have picked up this season, but at the same time, we are literally in the middle of the transfer window and chose not to move for players like Semenyo or Mark Gahey. With Champions League nights and cup games coming one after another, it was always obvious that some players would get run into the ground, and that is exactly what we saw in this match. So yes, Slot deserves blame for certain decisions, but it also feels like the board has to take some responsibility here as well. Now that we have got that off our chest, it's time to look at what actually happened out on the pitch. With the ball, and believe it or not, we were actually decent when it came to building up and moving the ball out from our own third. You could see us setting up in a 3-2 build-up shape with the centre-backs splitting and Alisson stepping in between them. This was done to overload Bournemouth's first line pressure. At the same time, we dragged their fullbacks wide and kept them there by holding our own fullbacks deeper. That opened up some space for our double pivot to receive the ball and create room for Salah to run in behind. The idea was there, but the execution was just not good enough. In this first clip, McAllister overhits the pass and the whole move breaks down. In the second situation, the same pattern showed up again. Alisson stood on the ball to invite pressure, Frimpong pinned their fullback, and Gravenberch found Szoboszlai in space. Unlike the earlier moment with McAllister, Szoboszlai threaded a brilliant pass to Salah using the outside of his foot. The shocking part came after that. Despite having so much space to work with, Salah made the wrong decision and went for a pass that was easily dealt with. Just like that, a really dangerous chance had gone. So yes, we actually started this game well, but once again, decision making and execution were what let us down. You could also argue that some players still need more time to fully understand their teammates or even get used to their roles in this system. There was another moment where the space was clearly there for Salah to attack. Wirtz played a great ball inside, but Salah had his body opened up towards the outside. By the time he adjusted and tried to react, the defenders had already closed the space and the chance was gone. These small details might not look like much, but they are the difference between creating chances and wasting them. Maybe Salah was not expecting the pass from Wirtz, or maybe he is still just adjusting to this new 3 role. But the reality is, other teams are not going to wait for you to figure things out. If you give them an opening, they will punish you straight away. Sadly, this time the chance that came from our own captain. Van Dijk said after the game that he was fooled by the ball's flight because of the wind. But honestly, that excuse does not hold up. You knew it was a windy night, so why try to flick the ball instead of just dealing with it with a simple header? Mistakes do happen, that is football, but when a player with Van Dijk's experience and quality makes one, the criticism was always going to be stronger. That is why so many fans were disappointed, not just with the mistake itself, but also with the way he spoke about it after the match. The second goal, though, was even worse in our opinion. Some people will blame Van Dijk again, others will point at Kerkez for not tracking marking his man. And while both of those arguments make some sense, we actually think this is a bigger issue to talk about here. Throughout most of the video, it might feel like we have been taking the pressure off of the manager. We've talked about the squad depth, injuries, and players not executing their actions properly. All of that can be true, but at the same time, Slot also had to take responsibility for the second goal we conceded, and let us explain why. Ever since last season, we have been saying how easy it is for the opposition teams to pull out our midfielders out of position. A big reason for that is Slot's insistence on having the double pivot man mark their opponents. That exact problem showed up again for Bournemouth's second goal. You can clearly see Szoboszlai following his man. On its own, that's fine. The problem is that there was no pressure on the ball at all, yet Szoboszlai stayed locked onto his man instead of reading the space. As a result, a huge gap opened up with Van Dijk and Kerkez both pinned and no one stepping into cover. In that moment, Szoboszlai choosing the player over the space is what caused the goal in the first place. And yes, that comes from the manager's instructions, because the same issue has been happening for a very long time now. But it does not stop there. Slot and his staff also have to answer for how long it took to make changes. When that second goal went in, we were already down to 10 men, with Gomez injured after the mistake that led to the first goal. Playing with 10 players for almost 7 minutes is unacceptable, and some sort of explanation would have gone a long way. Yes, we did manage to equalise, but it's important to point out that both of our goals came from set pieces. Van Dijk did well to pull one back, and then Szoboszlai stepped up once again with another brilliant free kick. From open play though, things did not really improve enough. Even after Ekitike, Jones and ynwa came on and gave us more energy going forward, we still struggled to consistently trouble Bournemouth's back line. As the game dragged on, it felt like we were running out of ideas. By the time we reached 93 minutes, we also knew what was coming, and honestly, there was no point going into that moment again, because it would just get our heads steaming all over again. To wrap things up, this game felt like a perfect summary of where we are right now. There are ideas, there are moments, there is clear quality in the squad, but there also are the same problems showing up over and over again. Injuries, lack of depth, tired legs and poor decisions all played a part, and that made this loss feel even more frustrating. It was not one single mistake or one single player, it was a mix of things that finally caught up with us. Arne Slot is not free from criticism, and he should be questioned for certain tactical choices and game management. At the same time, he is not the only one responsible. The board, the squad planning, and the situation we have put ourselves in all matter just as much. If we want to compete on multiple fronts, changes have to happen. That means better squad depth, smarter in-game decisions, and the players taking responsibility when it matters most. Otherwise, nights like this will just keep on happening. That's it from us today, and as always, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed today's video, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more.